History is made by this aircraft, the XS-1, and its pilot, Captain Charles E. Yeager.
This history was made on October 14th, 1947, the first time a human had flown faster than the speed of sound in level flight, accomplished, as said, by Charles Chuck Yeager piloting the Bell XS-1. This is a major achievement in aerospace engineering as it proved the viability of rocket propulsion for use in aircraft and later in spacecraft. These new engines were reliable and powerful enough for more than just experimental use. The idea for an aircraft that could travel faster than sound originated with the development of the turbojet-powered Miles M52, a top-secret project with the UK's Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace engineer Frederick George Miles. However, the project was cancelled in February of 1946, over a year and a half before the historic flight of the XS-1. The Bell XS-1, with X for experimental and S for supersonic, was first discussed in December of 1944 as a test to collect data about flight conditions at transonic speeds. The idea was to create an aircraft capable of speed of 800 miles per hour at 35,000 feet altitude for 2 to 5 minutes. A contract was made between the Bell Aircraft Corporation, the U.S. Army Air Forces, and the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. Extensive research was done in seeking every possible agency for information, as there were many unknowns about transonic and supersonic flight. After the UK cancelled the Miles M52 experiment in February 1946, all information regarding that experiment was ordered to be sent to Bell Aircraft. This was sent to Bell from the UK just a month after the first unpowered or gliding test flight was done on the XS-1. Essentially, the design for the XS-1 was a bullet with wings, as the design closely resembles a 50 cal BMG bullet, which was known to be stable at supersonic speeds. The aircraft was designed to be as aerodynamic as possible, reducing drag everywhere, hence the sharp point at the nose and the thrust coming out of the tail. The design of the XS-1 changed often. Through some preliminary testing, Bell decided that turbojet engines would not provide the desired performance at high altitude. Therefore, rockets were used instead of turbojets. The exact engine used was the XLR-11, designed by Reaction Motors Incorporated. It was a four-chambered rocket engine fueled by ethanol diluted with water and liquid oxygen as the oxidizer. There was a problem with designing the tail of the XS-1, as it was found that at high speeds, the actuators controlling the elevators were failing. The horizontal stabilizers were caught in the wing's slipstream and did not allow the elevators to move. Because of this, the designers opted to raise the stabilizers on the tail to get them as far away as possible from the slipstream coming off the wings. The final design had a length of 31 feet, a wingspan of 28 feet, a wing area of 130 square feet, and a weight of 12,250 pounds when fueled.
The XS-1 is not a military aircraft, but a flying research laboratory designed to test the effects of supersonic flight upon airplanes. It is powered by four...
As he just said, the Bell XS-1 was not intended to be a fighter plane. Although further research was done to apply supersonic flight to military aircraft, the purpose of the XS-1 was purely research and experimentation. Subsequent variations of the XS-1, including the X-1A, X-1B, X-1C, D, and E, were designed to test different aspects of supersonic flight. Although the X-1A and B were useful in what they did, the X-1C, D, and E models were not significant in anything they did. They either exploded before powered flight could happen or were not needed as a research aircraft. The X-1A was designed for the purpose of investigating aerodynamic phenomena at speeds greater than Mach 2 and at altitudes greater than 90,000 feet. Its first powered flight was on February 21, 1953. High-speed testing with the X-1A began in late November, culminating in a flight on December 12th, where Chuck Yeager set a new airspeed record of Mach 2.44 at 74,700 feet in the air. Soon after reaching that speed, the aircraft spun out of control due to the phenomenon called inertia coupling. The X-1A dropped to 25,000 feet, with Yeager experiencing as much as 8 Gs of acceleration on the way down before regaining control. The X-1A was lost in early August of 1955 when an explosion ruptured the liquid oxygen tank. At the time, the X-1A was being carried in the air by a B-50 bomber and was jettisoned after extricating the pilot. The X-1B was designed for thermal research at supersonic speeds with more than 300 thermal probes under the surface of the wings and fuselage. The X-1B completed a total of 27 flights over about 3.5 years before cracks in its fuel tank forced it to be grounded. A milestone for supersonic aircraft was achieved with X-1B in the form of small reaction rockets. These provided directional control and were used later in the North American X-15 experimental aircraft. The X-1B is now on display at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base near Dayton, Ohio. The original glamorous Glennis Bell X-1, named after Chuck Yeager's wife, is on display in the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum at Washington, D.C. In fact, I myself have visited the National Air and Space Museum and seen the Bell X-1 in person.